President Trump singling out Iran as a world sponsor of terror, calling for an international isolation.
From Lebanon to Iraq to Yemen, Iran funds arms and trains terrorists, militias, and other extremist groups that spread destruction and chaos across the region. For decades, Iran has fueled the fires of sectarian conflict and terror.
Well, it's a real big difference and a far cry from President Obama's foreign policy with the nuclear deal with Iran. That was the central theme there. And joining us now to weigh in on this and this big change we've seen with this new administration, Hudson Institute National Security Fellow Rebeccah Heinrichs. Rebeccah, thanks so much for getting up early today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in. And, you know, it certainly is a big difference to see one president trying to make a deal, almost, you know, sending, that big barrel of cash on the last days of administration into Iran. And now we have one that's basically saying everybody needs to isolate this country. They are the problem, and we need to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Iran has been isolated. It was isolated before the Obama administration came in, and that was the international community's goal. Isolate the regime until it actually earned the privilege of being a part of the international community. But Iran has continued to support terror. It supports Hamas. It supports Hezbollah. And so it's not only unacceptable for Israel, but it's unacceptable for the rest of the region. It has been undermining and wreaking havoc throughout the region. And the Obama administration, by the way, even admitted that the Iran deal and flushing it with cash, that some of that money would be used to support terrorism, but they thought that that played second fiddle to, taking care of the nuclear program. But it's simply not, it simply is unacceptable, and we got to get a handle on it, and the Trump administration realizes that.
As the president heads to Israel today, scheduled to land there in just about an hour or so from now, what do you think their reaction will be?
Well, I mean, the Israelis are going to, I think, be very happy with the speech that the president gave in Saudi Arabia yesterday. He took the point of Iran head on. He also addressed what the root of the problem is with this Islamist radicalism, and it's the ideology, and you got to get a handle on the ideology. He had this great part in his speech where he talked about how the Arab world, the Muslim world, needs to drive out terrorists in their communities and drive out the terrorists in their places of worship, which was, I thought, an incredibly powerful point. We got to handle the ideology. We've got to get to the root, and that's going to be, of course, very good news for the Israelis, who are, it's a country the size of New Jersey. It's a small country, and they can't afford to have Iran fueling this terrorism throughout the region because they're the ones that are really at risk the most, above everybody else.
Certainly Netanyahu, probably one of President Trump's biggest supporters, but for the rest of the world, what I wonder is, they see us as just a nation. And does this confuse people about our foreign policy when you have one president ending in January that was doing something so different, and then President Trump comes in and it's a completely different, I mean, that's got to be confusing to other allies, especially in the Middle East, about how we take care of our problems and how we deal with stuff, because they don't see us as Democrats and Republicans. They just see America, and all of a sudden we just switch.
Yeah, and the rest of the world, they want to be on the side of the United States. They really do, and they really appreciate firm leadership. They appreciate whenever the United States is clear and has clear objectives. It does not appreciate this, but leading from behind. I mean, I heard it from a lot of allies in the embassies during the Obama administration when they said, that was confusing, having the leader of the free world, leading from behind and not being clear about what we were doing and not enforcing international norms like the use of chemical weapons that Assad used in Syria. They didn't understand why the president was dithering and uncertain. And so I think the rest of the world is definitely going to appreciate a president now who is clear. Yes, it's a different president, but still the United States of America. And what they want is strong leadership and clarity, and they're going to get that from President Trump.
Also pretty clear, though, from their reaction that the controversies that continue to plague the president here at home are not impacting his trip overseas so far.
They don't seem to be. Already back home, we're seeing headlines where people are beating up on President Trump for not mentioning human rights. I saw somebody call the president. They said it was a very un-American speech that the president gave because he didn't address human rights head on. But I'll tell you what, it's not foregoing human rights when you want to build a coalition of Muslim-majority countries to go after ISIS, which is persecuting Christians and Jews, enslaving women, and butchering mother Muslims. I'll tell you what, that's taking care of human rights. right. So you just got to figure out what's realistic.
I think he had one single idea in mind of what he was going to talk about, and he did. Rebeccah, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.